2025 Drivers' Championship might be the closest we've seen since 2021. Max Verstappen, the defending four-time champion, tested very well with Red Bull. Mechanical gremlins prevented Red Bull from taking to the track too much, logging the fewest laps of any team. So, starting with you, Esha, are Red Bull and Max Verstappen in trouble?
Yes, I actually do believe Max Verstappen and Red Bull are a little bit in trouble. It's the end of this rule set, so teams the constructors are as close as they can be, and with other drivers coming in like Max Verstappen, going against Max Verstappen, especially Lewis Hamilton and Ferrari, it's definitely going to be a tighter race. Definitely last season was the epitome of that when we saw many constructors go against Red Bull, like Ferrari and especially McLaren, the current constructors champions this year. And I'm actually super excited to see something different than a consistent Red Bull win.
I totally agree with Esha. I think that over the past couple of seasons, we've just seen these other teams getting a little bit closer and closer to Red Bull, and we're going to continue to see that. Hopefully this season, we're going to see more people challenge. We know that a lot of teams, as far as like the construction of their car and the running of their teams, have really been gunning for Red Bull for years now, and they are really excited to finally be catching up. So it's going to be really interesting to see.
It's a shame that Red Bull was struggling so much in pre-season testing, but that just goes to show with the third or fourth year of these regulations how close the pack has really caught up. Remember, we saw in 2021, the last year before the 2022 regulations, how quite a few teams were able to pick up podiums and wins and stuff like that. Remember Esteban Ocon with his fantastic win in Hungary. I think we're going to see quite a few surprises this season from quite a lot of teams. I'm particularly excited with Lewis Hamilton joining Ferrari, but I'm more excited about McLaren challenging Red Bull this season, in particular Lando Norris. He just missed out on the driver's title, and I know he's going to be even hungrier to try and beat Max Verstappen to take his first ever title in Formula One.
Well, Verstappen is an incredible driver, and often we saw him feeling some lags in the car performances, like in Brazil last year. For sure, Newey's departure leaves a big question mark to the performances that Red Bull might have in 2025, but I do not feel that we can exclude them from the top three teams this year.
Yeah, definitely Red Bull coming into this year with a lot of question marks, especially with Liam Lawson joining the main team, but it'll definitely be interesting to see how everything plays out. A comment from Adam here. Happy International Women's Day to all of you outstanding females in motorsports.
Thank you so much.
So on to our next question. Mercedes made the most laps of any team, and many compared their current model to the hallowed 2020 W11. Not to be outdone, McLaren is on everyone's mind after a stunning turnaround last season, as well as a promising race simulation from last year's runner-up Lando Norris. We obviously can't forget about Scuderia Ferrari that appear to be right there with the top two. However, the famous red car has endured some issues during their testing, including no race simulation at all with Hamilton. Nicole, I'll pass this off to you. Which of these three teams is the favorite to win the Constructors Championship?
So in my mind, the quickest answer, and I think the most consistent across the board, has to be McLaren. And it's not just because I like their team and I like their drivers and I'm a really big fan of orange. There are just so many factors that are kind of working into this season. Not like testing isn't always the best indicator for how a season is going to go. We all know that. But at the end of the day, McLaren is the only team out of those three who have a consistent driver lineup, who've been working with their drivers for years, who aren't trying to integrate like a new rookie into the team, and who have shown, especially last season, that despite maybe a rocky start, they can catch up very quickly. And I think, Scuderia Ferrari and Mercedes are going to potentially really struggle, like every single team does, when you have a lot of new faces coming into the paddock for the first time.
I think it's going to be very tough between those three teams, really, because we've seen with McLaren how brilliant their race pace was in the testing. And of course, Mercedes weren't that far behind them. And we know that last season, Mercedes was particularly very strong in the colder conditions. Las Vegas, for example, was a very good one, where we saw George Russell pick up a really fantastic victory. But with a consistent lineup of Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri, I can't rule out McLaren. McLaren have been looking so good throughout the end of last season towards the beginning of this season, and they're still learning on how to operate as a team with strategy. They've got to work on their strategy, really. That's what lost Lando Norris the driver's title. So if McLaren could work on their strategy, they could definitely be the favourites. I know Ferrari's going to take a bit longer to get used to having two number ones in the team, but it is always possible. I think it's going to be hard for Lewis Hamilton to adapt to start with. And of course, we have a rookie in Kimi Antonelli, but Kimi Antonelli, I know, will get some really consistent points. And with George Russell trying to be the leader of the team as well, he's keen on picking some more wins. But out of those three teams, I have to say McLaren will top them all, I think.
Yeah, I would say McLaren as well. Partially for the growth they showed in 2024, but also for the incredible results in the test last week. They did a race simulation, which was really unbelievable. They are fast, they have two good drivers, so yeah, they are my favorites for the championship in 2025.
I hate to sound like a broken record, but I also believe McLaren is the team to beat this season, especially after seeing what they did in 2024. Fixing up their strategy is definitely going to be very, very important. But also, I just can't rule out Ferrari. You have a powerhouse and someone with so much knowledge like Lewis Hamilton coming in. I feel like he's going to bring the special sauce that Ferrari needs to propel them forward.
Yeah, definitely a lot of contenders up at the front of the field this year with each of those three that were individually mentioned. Obviously, McLaren, with how well they performed in the second half of last season, are certainly a pretty consensus favorite amongst this group.